Welcome back, everyone. I'm here with one of my favorite creatures in the bush, the dwarf mongoose. This is not a group we normally see. That's why I'm speaking so quietly. They're on a road that is not very often used, so it's taken quite a bit of coaxing and keeping still and talking quietly to get them to come out. And it's perfect timing. It's just warm enough now for them to come out of their termite mound that they've been sleeping in for the evening and enjoy the morning sun and warm up before they head out foraging. So I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the moment, creeping out of various different little holes. I'm sure there's quite a few more. Six now. They are such delightful little creatures. 7. So if we sit quietly, they might come out, start grooming. At the moment, they're very, very curious about us. So we won't move too quickly or speak too loudly. As I said, this is not one of our normal sort of dwarf mongoose spots, but this is a really fantastic termite mound. Nice big one, lots of little holes for them to escape. Africa's smallest member of the carnivore family. So these morning sort of sunbathing sessions at the den are very important for all social animals, specifically an incredibly social little predator like these guys. Oh, there's climbing going on. You can see they're very alert to everything around them. Obviously, being that size, they are definitely sort of the bottom of the food chain. Lots of different things eat them. But the most dangerous thing for dwarf mongoose is definitely the predatory birds. Things like martial eagles, African hawk eagles. I think even Bateleur and stuff might try their luck. I don't know if they'll be quick enough. Oh, someone's going for king of the castle. Noisy radio. But now, how many are out there? Let's try. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 so far. And I can still see a few in the dark recesses of those holes that just popping out. They're not as relaxed as the other ones now. They're definitely getting more used to our presence. They are still very much focused on us. But what I'm hoping is if we sit here for long enough, they will start grooming, possibly a bit of playing. So really, really wonderful creatures. Wow. 1, 2, 10. 10 that I can see now. Incredibly agile little creatures. So often with these dens that they'll choose, they will definitely have a very good open sun-facing side for this morning basking. So one in frame at the moment is the closest to us. But looks like, see, they're a little bit more trusting. They're turning their backs to us a bit more. Might sort of get going with a bit of, oh, I think if we go up and out to the right, and that sort of pile of mongoose there, and if there's going to be some playing and whatnot, I think that little group there look like the one. Hi Dee, welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Dwarf mongoose are sort of between 10 and 15, but there are recorded groups of over 30 in certain areas, and that will be in areas where there's food is plentiful. In some areas, they don't often get as big as 10. There will be some fighting within within the business, but generally not too much. But if they were to come across another group of dwarf mongoose in their territory, that fight would be very violent. And I would not like to have other groups foraging in their area. I would probably guess we can see 10 now. There's probably at least another 5 or 6 we can't see. I'd say this group is anywhere from 10 to 20. There could be some more around the backside of the termite mound that we're not seeing at the moment. So there we go, they are moving closely to each other. So we might definitely see some grooming shortly. Oh, very, very cute. They have quite a varied diet. So it also depends very much on what area the mongoose occur, what's their diet is made up of. But a lot of their diet is made up of grubs of the Coloptera beetle species, so the ground beetles and scarab beetles, dung beetles. They will really like dung beetle grubs. It'll be a huge meal for them, and that makes up in certain parts around about 33% of their diet, and another very large section of their diet, more for this area where we are, is termites. So about also around the 35% range of their diet, specifically in this area, is made up of termites. And then the rest of the diet is very, very varied. made up by quite a lot of crickets and grasshoppers. Also centipedes. If they can, small lizards, geckos, small snakes, small mice. And to a lesser degree, caterpillars and other grubs. Hi Tula, welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Tula would like to know, do they live in this termite mound or they're just visiting? Tula, this will be one of their homes. They will have multiple termite mounds within their territory, which is quite small. Probably around 2 hectares. I'll double check that for you. Maybe even a bit smaller. But they will have multiple of these termite mounds that they will use differently. So they might forage from one to another during the day and then sleep at the one that they get to later. Another quite interesting thing is that they are not water dependent, and possibly one of the reasons for this is so they sort of stay out of competition with the bigger social mongoose species in this area, which is the banded mongoose. But obviously seasonally, when the water is available during the wet season, they will. But they do look really funny when they're trying to drink. They're very clumsy and don't seem to be used to it. You'll probably find they get a lot of their moisture from dew on the grass in the mornings and from what they eat. So they're not very adept at drinking or lapping. So what quite often happens is they sometimes will even immerse their whole heads into a puddle, which is very, very funny. But the most common way they've been seen to drink is to dip their paws into the water and then lick them. So a non-water dependent species. Hi, Tammy. Tammy would like to know how the social hierarchy of a mongoose works. They are very similar to, sort of say, wild dogs, whatnot. There's an alpha pair that will do the breeding, and then the rest will look after the youngsters. So how different mongooses move between different troops, obviously to create genetic diversity. When a new individual comes into the area and into an established troop, strangers of either sex or age were accepted by the troop, but after some initial sorting of social status, and that would have been by fighting, and sometimes not even fighting, just being very aggressive towards and seeing whether they stood up or behaved in a submissive manner. But there are serious sun lovers, and at these sort of permanent residences they have throughout their territory. In the early morning and late afternoon, it's quite common to find them doing exactly what they're doing now. And if we go down to the bottom one, it's almost fallen asleep in the sun. And you can notice I'm speaking a little bit louder. They've become a lot more relaxed. Hi, Catherine. Oh, Leon from Texas. Catherine would like to know, what makes the termite mound so hard? Catherine, it's the saliva of the termites. It's almost like a cement, and when they're building it, they use that saliva to stick the different sand particles together, and then it becomes very hard with time. So that is what makes termite mounds so hard. Hi, Anna-Marie. Welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Anna-Marie would like to know, do they always live in abandoned termite mounds, or do they sometimes dig their own shelters? Even though they are incredibly good diggers for their size, they will excavate inside the termite mound, but they normally almost exclusively live in abandoned termite mounds. I have seen them sometimes in abandoned or in fallen down dead trees that they will use if there's lots of nice hollows inside the tree. But the majority of the time will be in abandoned termite mounds. Andrew and I are actually behaving quite a lot like the mongooses at the moment. We're also enjoying the morning sun and not moving, having the odd stretch. Hi, Janet from Boston. Welcome on Drive with us this Sunrise Drive. Janet in Boston would like to know why termites leave their mounds. There's a couple of reasons. Janet, the queen might die and there's no successor, or they might have had a raid by a predatory species. Like an aardvark might have dug in through and actually even got to that part of the chamber, or things like a specific species of ant called a matabele ant that will actually march in columns and attack termite colonies. But to be completely honest, I'm not 100% sure. I know there's various different reasons, but sometimes maybe they've just sort of, the time has come and they don't, or maybe on these type of termites, maybe they've exhausted the farming capabilities on the inside of the mound. But that's a very interesting question. I'm definitely going to have to read up a bit more about that, Janet. No one's dozing again. Had a late night last night. Doesn't want to wake up this morning. And then wakes up as soon as the camera's on. Oh, and there you go, head's heavy again. Oh. Hi, Liz. Liz, welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Liz would like to know if these are dwarf mongoose, are they larger sized mongoose? Yes, from the social mongoose species in this area, but we don't really get them too much here. They prefer the sort of bigger rivers down in the south of the reserve. Hello, there's some grooming about to go on there. And the larger mongoose species, that social mongoose species around this in the Sabi Sands, is the banded mongoose. I have not seen any banded mongoose since I've been here. They do tend to prefer bigger riverine areas. We also have a slender mongoose in this area, which is a solitary mongoose species, which is also quite a bit bigger. And we also have the biggest mongoose species we get in this area is the white-tailed mongoose, which are often in pairs. But of the gregarious mongoose, dwarf mongoose is the one we see the most often on Djuma and Arathusa. So they don't leave these residences, mongoose apartments, until the sun is very well up and warm. So even though it is quite warm now and the sun is up, I think they're probably not going to move from here for another half an hour to 45 minutes at least before they settle foraging. They really do enjoy their morning sunbathe. Hi, Maggie from Kansas. Welcome on Sunrise Safari. Maggie would like to know, when they're foraging, do they share their food, or is it each for their own? Maggie, I've seen females, sometimes they will with younger animals, but mostly once they're older, it's each to their own, and they will defend their whatever they've found quite strongly against other members of the business. We have a curious one heading towards us down at the base of there, going to check us out. So you can see with a bit of sunshine becoming a little bit more active. I just can't resist taking a picture of the one with the sleepy eyes. We'll give it a little bit longer. Hopefully they might start playing as they warm up. Hi, Bullaray. Welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Bullaray would like to know, a reclaimed termite mound like this one, is it called a den, like a hyena den, or is it referred to as another name? In all the reading I've done on mongooses, it's generally referred to as a residence. I even heard it called a den, and that's possibly because they have multiple residences within their territory, but then so do hyenas. So I don't know, I've never heard it called a mongoose den, but mongoose residence. So you can start seeing there's a bit more grooming going on, a bit more jumping around. Oh, stretch. Oh, that looked good. Morning, Smiles. Welcome on the Sunrise Safari. As I was saying a bit earlier, there will be migration of males and... Smiles would like to know, because they fight with other businesses and mongoose, does this mean they interbreed? So, Smiles, what will happen is there'll be an alpha pair, and once they die, either the next ranking female will take over, but there is migration between the different businesses, but not a group. It'll be normally one individual at a time, and then that individual will either be accepted or chased away. It just depends on the situation. So there is possibly some inbreeding, but I don't think a lot, because they do migrate between troops, but not as a group. So you won't get 3 or 4 moving together. It's normally one mongoose that will migrate to another troop or business. Oh. So there's that. Social grooming, allo grooming. It's so important in social animals, especially social predators. So while the others are all relaxing and grooming and basking in the sun, there's the one poor chap on top who's keeping a lookout, making sure everyone's safe. Claire and Billy Joe. Claire from Florida, I think, and Billy Joe from New York. I might have got that mixed up, sorry guys. But they would like to know, how big can a termite mound get? They seem huge. Well, the highest termite mound I've ever seen was in northern Botswana, and it was probably from the ground about 4.5, 5 meters, so around 18 foot high is the biggest one I've ever seen. These ones probably around 2 meters. So seven, 8 foot, somewhere around there. But I have seen monster ones. And you must remember, they're like an iceberg. 2/3 are still underground. So it's amazing now. When we first arrived here, this was a very unrelaxed group of dwarf mongoose. And now after we sat here and we were very quiet when we were speaking in the beginning, now I'm talking normally and they're just continuing on with their morning routine. So guys, I know we've been sitting here for quite a while, so I'm going to put it up to you. Should we stay a little bit longer with the business of mongoose, or should we continue on to see what else we can find? And you can send what you'd like to do via email to questions@wildearth.tv, or you can use the hashtag SafariLive if you're on Twitter. Morning, Blair from British Columbia in Canada. Welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Blair would like to know, how long would it take to build a termite mound like the one the Mongoose are currently in? I would probably guess this termite mound's a couple of 100 years old, Blair. It would have taken a couple of hundreds of years for this to get to that size. Very difficult to determine exactly how long, because it could have been dormant for 100 years, 50 years already, but it would have taken 200, 300, maybe 400 years to build a termite mound of that size. You can see quite a lot more movement going on now. So we're going to sit here for a little bit longer. Hopefully they might get active, so we're just going to stand by here. In the meantime, we're going to cross across to James and see what the short man's been up to.